Philip practices an interview session with his father. Frank criticizes his college major, to Philip's annoyance. They are interrupted by Lib, his sister, who calls them for dinner. Frank's advice to Philip to get a summer job in the family's business falls on deaf ears. He is annoyed when his father continues to compare him to other kids his age, who work during the summer. His mom gets angry when they continue bickering and do not help her bring in the groceries. At dinner, Philip informs his mom Laura of his plans to go on a trip for a festival during spring break, where he hopes to mingle with the cool kids. But his mom is adamant about not permitting him, because of what kids his age get up to during such trips. His father also supports his mom's decision, but Philip is not surprised about it, because he never expects much from him. Philip announces that he will be going on a trip to Japan. Laura is unhappy because she wants the family to spend time together during spring break. Philip feels attacked. He does not enjoy the trips, but he has to go for the sake of his family. Both Philip and his dad refuse when Laura opts to take the kids to the festival. She is surprised, but Frank reminds her that Philip will not attend the festival because he already got a summer job. Philip is angry when his father continues to attack him on this issue. He leaves the table in anger, planning to visit his friend. Frank does not appreciate his behavior, and he warns him to be home early. Philip takes his bike from the garage and pops his headphones on. Listening to loud music, he rides out of the house. He meets his friend Louis at a hangout filled with other young people. He is surprised Philip's parents won't allow him to go on the trip. Louis's parents bought the idea of the cultural science fair trip, which he used as a cover-up. Philip sees a group of girls chatting. His crush Allison is among them, but Louis reminds him that he does not stand a chance with her. He tells Philip that his uncle has a house close to the lake, for their accommodation. Philip decides that he is a man at almost 18. He plans to leave the house for the trip, when his dad leaves and his mom goes to take Lib to school. Allison passes by with her friend, but she does not respond to Philip when he calls her, because he is not part of the cool kids crowd. He is left looking embarrassed. He arrives home way past curfew. His father waits up for him and shows him an acceptance letter that came in for him from NYU. Philip is excited by this news, but his father is not happy with his choice of school and major. He is tired of his father's interference in his life choices. He storms out of the room in a rage. His sister Lib visits him in his room, and she reminds him that he needs their dad for school. Tuition is not cheap, and he has no scholarship offers. The next morning, he watches from the window as his parents and sister leave. He prepares his stuff. Louis picks him up, and they embark on their trip. In the car, Philip plays his guitar while Louis drives, and they are both happy to be on their way. They arrive at Louis's uncle's house, and are surprised the house doesn't look like the paradise they envisioned. They find his uncle Ross, naked and obviously suffering from a hangover. They find a spot at the pool filled with lots of people, and decide to relax and have fun. Philip admires a girl wearing a bikini, but he does not believe his eyes when he sees his father approaching the pool. He ducks under the table and alerts his friend. His first thought is that his father has found him out, so they hide behind people to evade him. They watch him approach a girl who he hugs and holds hands with. Philip is shocked at the display of affection. Louis is quite convinced that Frank has an affair with the girl. They follow them in their car to a house. Louis tries to convince Philip not to follow them into the house, but he is adamant and wants to find out the truth. Through the window, he notices a boy his age lifting weights. He sees Frank hugging another woman and the boy, who he is happy to call his son. He looks happy to reunite with his second family. Philip is hurt at the discovery that his father is cheating on his mom. At home, Laura tries to get used to the idea of having only Lib at home with her. Philip calls the phone at home to tell his mom what he saw, but he is overcome by emotions and cannot say anything. The next morning, Ross wakes Philip up with a billow of smoke in his face. Ross is obviously stoned, but they all pretend like everything is fine. Louis advises Philip to make use of the opportunity. He can get anything he wants from his father, now that he knows about his second life. But Philip thinks the plan wouldn't work. In a fit of rage, he realizes that the kids his father compares him with have been his other kids all along. He visits the house his father went to and meets the girl his father hugged. He asks for Frank, pretending to be a friend. He realizes that his father told his other family about him, lying that he is his friend Richie's son. He meets her mother Bonnie, and she serves him inedible cookies. She introduces her son, Eddie, to Philip and insists he stay for dinner. She asks the boys to bond while they wait for Frank to return. Philip is hesitant to stay, but she insists. In Eddie's room, Peter observes that Eddie is the son his father always wanted. He has tons of trophies from sports, goes fishing with Frank, and even has a replica of a hat Frank got him from one of his numerous trips. Frank returns home from work with pizza, and he is taken aback when he sees Philip. The bottle in his hand slips, and he is surprised to see Philip sitting nonchalantly with his other family. He fears that Philip has told the truth to his family. Philip continues with the ruse of being Rich's kid. Frank is spooked when Philip tells him that he has come to talk to him about his father cheating on his mom. Frank tries to find out if he has told his mother, but Philip tells him that he is still thinking about it. At the table, Philip stares at Frank pointedly. He scoffs when he notices that Frank does not interrogate his daughter on where she is going, because he trusts her. He complains of being sick and leaves the table. Frank is hot on his heels, apparently to confront him. Philip enters the library and sees pictures of the happy family. He is followed by Frank, who shuts the door. Philip is hurt to see his father with his other family. Frank tries to apologize to him, but he gets angrier. Philip accuses his father of doing it because he felt trapped with his mom. To buy his silence, he cajoles Frank to pay for his NYU tuition. Frank is aghast at Philip's blackmail, but they are interrupted by his wife. She invites Philip to spend the night, which he wholeheartedly agrees to. Frank is jittery when his wife tells him to call Philip's parents and inform them that their son is with them. She is empathetic about the boy's family situation. Frank is worried about the situation he is in. He coerces her to leave the room while he hyperventilates. At night, Philip can't help but stare longingly at the pictures of Eddie and Frank fishing. He is woken by Eddie, who invites him to go jogging. He declines at first, but changes his mind when he sees Frank willing to jog. He joins them just to watch his father sweat. Philip finds it difficult to keep up with Eddie. Frank purposely jogs slowly so as to keep him company. Philip cannot believe him. He continues with the jog. Back at the house, Philip gets another surprise when Eddie tells him that although his grandpa died in his 50s from an unhealthy lifestyle, his father allows him to drink soda because you only live once. This is the exact opposite of what goes on in Philip's house. Eddie goes inside, and Frank confronts Philip about the rookie mistake he made, which might raise suspicions and blow his cover. He offers him some covert rules he should never forget. Frank is surprised at his father's audacity. He wonders what Frank will do if he is discovered. Frank doesn't seem too bothered. He simply says that he will walk into traffic, and if he does not pass away, no one would try to question any man in a body cast. Anyway, Philip is dumbstruck at his father. He finds Bonnie's paintings and is struck by their beauty. Kelly invites him to go on a ride with her. She uncovers her car, and Philip recognizes it as his grandmother's car, which he was told had been auctioned. He tells her that his father Rich mentioned her grandma to him, so he doesn't raise her suspicion. She comments on his choice of clothes and decides to give him a makeover. She takes him shopping and helps him select new clothes. She confides in him that she enjoyed hearing stories about his parents from her father, but is sad that things are coming to an end. She wouldn't like to know about the affair if she were his mom. He changes into a nice outfit. Kelly admires him, and she poses for him in her new outfit. He speeds out of the dressing room to avoid an awkward situation. They both go running errands, and Kelly leaves him in the car to deliver some of her mom's paintings. He sights Allison, his crush, and some other girls coming. He switches to the driver's seat, pretending to be the owner of the car, and calls Allison when they pass by. Allison recognizes him, but she is surprised at his transformation and the car. She invites him to the lake party happening later. Kelly approaches the car. She is amused at Philip trying to impress Allison. They arrive at the house. Frank is packing some bags into the car. He calls Philip and hands him a check that covers his tuition fee. He advises him to take the money and leave so he can take his family to the lake house. Philip is hesitant and does not feel excited. Frank reminds him that their secret stays here. Philip scoffs and tells him that he was mistaken to feel disappointed in himself. He should have been disappointed in Frank instead. Bonnie convinces Frank to allow Philip to go with them to the lake. Frank is bursting at the seams with frustration about Philip, who he feels might reveal his secret. On their way to the lake, Philip sits, happily carrying the dog, with the other kids in the back seat of the vehicle. They arrive at the lake house where they will stay. Philip remembers the house from when he was younger. He also remembers that it was bought by someone else. Frank is embarrassed to admit that he was the one who bought it. This leaves Philip dumbstruck. In a whisper, Frank tells him that Richie thought he didn't like the cabin, and Philip claims that he didn't. Philip watches Frank and Eddie share a father-son moment as they walk along the pool. He feels left out when they play ball with another family. Kelly hands him a beer. He reflexively tries to hide the beer so Frank does not see it, but she tells him that her dad does not mind her drinking it. Philip tries to look away when she removes her shirt. He is surprised to learn that Frank is allowing Kelsey to attend NYU, while he keeps giving him hell over going to the same college. She complains that her parents treat her like a stranger, but he counters her, saying that they treat her like an adult. She asks him to help apply sunscreen to her back. He notices Frank watching them and accepts to do her bidding. Frank does not like that the two kids are getting close. He throws the ball. It hits Philip on the head, and he falls down. Eddie hands him some ice to massage his face. He apologizes to Philip for his father's shot. He is grateful that Philip came with them. He claims it has helped remove his father's attention from him. Philip is surprised at his admission. He learns that the guitar in the room belongs to Frank. Eddie admits to Philip that most of the things he does are just for his father. Philip advises him to learn to stand up for himself and start doing the things he likes. Philip is pissed when he overhears Bonnie's discussion with her friend. She says that she has convinced Frank to get someone to help him out at work, so he doesn't have to travel so often. He throws the wrapped corn into the grill, to Frank's friend's chagrin, and complains about Philip's lack of manners. Philip plays the guitar he found inside. He stops when he sees that Frank is watching him play. He tells Philip to continue playing, but he walks off, muttering that he is not in the mood to be criticized. Frank barely contains himself at the sight of Kelly being all over Philip. When another couple asks Kelsey if they are dating, they refute it. Frank tells everyone that Philip is on his way to being a rock star, and he invites him to play for them. Philip does not make it easy for him. They go back and forth, and Frank complains about Richie's poor parenting skills. He is on a roll and does not listen to his wife's plea to stop. Philip storms out in anger, with Kelly hot on his heels, after telling Frank off for his hideous behavior. Kelly apologizes to Philip over Frank's outburst, and invites him to go drinking with her. In the next scene, Laura makes more than enough food for just her and Liv, when she realizes that Philip is not back yet. She is shocked when she learns from Lewis's mom that Philip went to the fair, and not to his friend's house. Kelsey and Philip arrive at a party filled with people having fun. He stumbles into his friend Lewis, and apologizes for ditching him. He is surprised to see Philip walk freely with Kelly, without stumbling on his words. He is more shocked when Allison comes over and hugs Philip. Philip tries to keep up appearances. He denies knowing Lewis, and walks away with Allison to the cool kids section. Lewis is deeply hurt by his friend's betrayal. Frank is having a bit of a moment. He questions his parenting skills while talking to Eddie. He seeks his permission to take Philip fishing the next morning, and Eddie agrees. At the party, Philip fits right into the popular kids crowd, and Kelly advises him on how to win Allison over. The next morning, Frank goes to invite Philip to go fishing with him. He is annoyed when he finds Kelly and Philip sleeping in bed together. Philip wakes and assures him that he considers her his half-sister. Philip does not recognize his father. First, he takes him fishing, and then offers him a beer. Frank tells Philip that he stayed back with his mom, who he had fallen out of love with, because she was already pregnant with Philip. He explains that he couldn't end it with Bonnie, who found out that she was pregnant with Eddie at the same time. Philip still finds it difficult to understand why Frank had to string everyone along, instead of coming clean. The mood gets lighter when Philip catches a fish and falls right into the river. On their way home, they are stopped by Lewis, who's panting from his run. Frank is stunned when he informs them that Laura is on her way to the town. They are in the car, driving back to Ross's house, and Frank decides not to out himself. He tells Philip to take whatever punishment his mom gives him, and he will be back after his vacation to do damage control. Philip returns the tuition fee check to Frank. He tells him that he knows he never wanted him to go to NYU, because he would cross paths with Kelly. Frank corrects him. His reason is to spend more time with him, but Philip does not believe him. Frank is disgusted at the dingy house and the disheveled Ross when they arrive. They rearrange the house to make it look presentable to Laura. Frank reminds Philip that things will go back to normal. He does not want to lose any of his family. On his way out, he bumps into Laura and Lib. He is caught off guard and struggles to find a plausible excuse. Frank lies that his trip was canceled, but he decided to follow Philip to the town hosting the fair. They have been having an amazing time, bonding on a much deeper level. She stares at him wordlessly, finding it difficult to believe him. Frank tells them it's better they leave, but she is adamant to stay and experience the Starling Festival with the kids. She heads inside, leaving Frank and Philip shocked. Inside, she stares at the pitiful condition of the house, but she is adamant about staying. Frank runs out of the house with an excuse, and Philip is hot on his heels. Frank tells him it is time to act as his accomplice. He tells him to occupy his mom and sister while he devises a plan. Philip is surprised when his father tells him that this is not his first close call. Frank decides to bring Ross into his plans. Ross will act as Frank's friend and Philip's father, Richie. He cleans him up and gives him a few pointers on what to say to his family. They arrive at his house, and he introduces Ross as Richie to Bonnie and Kelly. Ross is jittery and fails his first test. He ignores them and goes to the backyard. Bonnie and Kelly are appalled at his behavior, especially when he takes a leak in the lake. Philip takes his mom and sister out sightseeing, while Frank drives in search of him. He is annoyed that his plan is not going as planned. He finds them outside a rental place. Frank tries to make a sign to Philip to stop them from entering there, but Philip does not understand him. Frank is forced to join them inside. He feigns ignorance when Laura shows him that the lake is close to their former house. He dissuades her from going there and points to another lake far from there. Ross continues to make a spectacle of himself before Poppy and her kids. He takes a sandwich from a cooler that has been in the woods for a long time, and he continues eating it without a care. Philip, Frank, Laura, and Lib arrive at their new rental space. Frank tells them to head in while they bring in their things from the car. Philip complains that their lives will catch up to them, but Frank assures him that everything will go as planned. He tells him to go over to Bonnie's, make up with Ross Richie, and take him home before he blows their cover. Laura checks on them for the bags, and they tell her that they are having some man-to-man talk. Frank is trying to settle a dispute between Philip and Lewis over a girl. Laura is impressed with the improved relationship between her husband and son, but Lib is skeptical. She reminds her that Lewis is gay. Philip sets out and meets Lewis, who is playing ball with a boy. He waves and looks at him weirdly. Frank and Laura arrange things in the kitchen. She points out that he seems better with Philip now, and Frank suggests that they should come up to the town for the festival more often. She scoffs at his suggestion and points out the sorry condition of their marriage. Frank is bummed. He admits that he would have liked to do things differently in their marriage. Laura leaves because she does not want to hear any of his excuses, and also refuses his help. Frank is left alone in the kitchen, looking bereft. Philip arrives at Bonnie's house to continue with the ruse. He informs Ross Ritchie that he has forgiven him. But Ross acts like his usual self and does not follow the script. He is more interested in playing cards with Eddie and winning. Frank is anxious for Philip to come back. Laura and Lib are oblivious as to why he wants Philip back, as they play a game. He announces that he will go look for him. On the drive, he keeps looking around, hoping to catch sight of Philip. He arrives at his second lake house and finds everyone settled for taco night. He goes to wash up and is followed by Philip. Bonnie is confused and does not know what to make of the situation. In the bathroom, Philip tells Frank that it has been like a hostage situation, with Ross not agreeing to forgive him. Frank assures him that everything is okay, as long as Bonnie believes that Ross is his father. He gives Philip more instructions as he leaves the bathroom, but Philip stops him. He wants to find out what happens next with his mother and sister, since Frank promised Bonnie that he would be cutting down on work. Frank acts like a deer caught in the headlights. He confesses that he plans on spending more time with Bonnie and her kids. Philip is hurt at Frank's admission. He considers himself the other family, but Frank does not want to have this conversation. He escapes the bathroom. They return to the table for dinner. Frank tells Ross Ritchie to listen to what Philip has to say. Philip vents his anger about the entire situation to Ross, but Frank feels attacked. Philip tells his father not to reveal any of it to his mother or Bonnie, because he knows that he would not like to lose any of the women. Ross tries to tell him that his father can take care of himself, but Philip tells him that he cannot. He has been lying about himself, and so he does not even know himself. Ross feels left out of the conversation. He keeps trying to call their attention, but he is ignored. He grabs Frank and pushes him to the ground, aiming a punch at him. But the others split them up. Philip takes Ross out of the house and informs him that they are done with the act, but he refuses. Bonnie and Kelly are frazzled over what just happened. They rally around Frank, who guzzles a can of beer. Outside, Ross, in a moment of sobriety, advises Philip not to help keep his father's secrets. He tells him that Frank is a coward who lies, and asks Philip if he is a coward like him too. This leaves Philip thinking. He goes looking for Lewis, but finds him having a private moment with the boy from earlier. He is angry that nobody ever tells him the truth, including his best friend. Lewis blames him, he has become unrecognizable. But neither of them want to let the friendship go. They quickly hash out their differences and hug it out. Philip wishes him luck with his friend and leaves. Bonnie finds Frank outside, thinking about the dilemma he is in. He claims to be thinking about his friend Richie. He reaffirms his love for her, and they share a hug in the open. In the next scene, over breakfast, Laura advises Philip to manage his expectations of his dad, flaws and all. But she fails to answer when he asks her if she still loves Frank. Frank comes in and saves them from the awkward conversation. Philip retires for the night, and Frank is forced to ask Laura if he is okay. She hesitates and says that he will be. Frank sneaks out of the bed with Laura. He spares a few glances at Lib from the door to her room, and leaves for the place he is sharing with Bonnie. His breathing is erratic as he settles onto the bed he is sharing with Bonnie. The next morning, he rushes out of the house, leaving a surprised Eddie and Bonnie, with the claim of going on a run. He sweats heavily as he runs, and tries to make it on time to his other family. He gets there, breathing out of sorts. Laura and Lib are surprised to see him back from jogging. Philip hauls them out of the house to the Starling Festival, with promises to meet them there. He hands him pills with water. Frank tells him their next plan, which is to keep his mom and sister at home before the festival. He is devastated when Philip tells him that they already left. He feels like his game is up. His two families will meet each other at the festival. Philip tries to console him, but he tells him that there must be another plan. That does not entail them being caught in their lies. They join Ross on a speedboat cruising nearby to the Starling Festival, to ensure the two families don't cross paths. Laura and Lib arrive at the festival, and Lib runs off to explore. Bonnie and her kids also arrive at the venue, searching for Frank. Philip and Frank, with Ross in tow, reach the Starling Festival, and various families are splayed all over the open field. They go on different paths to look for the two families. They avert close calls among the kids. But Frank loses it when he sees that both Bonnie and Laura are sharing a table for the festival. Philip is stunned when Kelly declares her love for him. He is uneasy and unable to give her a coherent reply. Ross saves Frank from the one-sided conversation he is having with Eddie, who is complaining about Frank neglecting him. Laura and Bonnie hit it off pretty quickly. They point out their kids in the crowd. Ross convinces Frank to be honest, and they wave at the women. The women return the wave. Bonnie is excited to learn that Laura is Philip's mom. Kelly tries to kiss Philip, but he is jittery and is unable to stop her. Frank is afraid to see the kiss happen, and he runs toward them, screaming at the top of his voice to stop the kiss. Kelly is angry at her dad for stopping her. An argument ensues, and Laura and Bonnie come running, same with Eddie and Lib. Frank confesses that Philip is his son, and everyone is shocked. Kelly runs away when she hears Lib call him dad. Laura is furious that Frank never ended the relationship he had with Bonnie after so many years. Bonnie does not understand what is happening. She is surprised that she is the other woman. Philip tries to explain things to his mom, but Frank stops him and painfully tells him that it is over. Laura does not listen to Philip's plea to see it as Frank's flaw. She sees it as a betrayal. She threatens never to see Frank unless in a body cast. An idea from an earlier conversation with Frank pops into Philip's head, and he runs off. Frank is hot on his heels. He knows what he has in mind. Philip zooms past his friend Lewis. He kisses Allison and continues his run, with Frank behind him, heaving throughout the run. They approach the road. Philip stands in the way of an upcoming vehicle, but Frank pushes him out of the way. They are hit by another car, which zooms off. They sit up with wounds on their heads and pain etched on their faces, and they hear the sound of the ambulance in the distance. At the hospital, while both families wait, Eddie and Kelly discuss what happened. He shudders at the thought of kissing an unknown sibling in the future. The doctor gives them the happy news: Philip and Frank survived with some injuries. Laura refuses to see Philip. She is emotional as she sends Lib to visit him, while she shuts herself in the car and breaks down in tears. She removes her ring. The kids and Bonnie visit Philip and Frank. Frank assures them that he loves his family, even though he missed moments with one family in order to be with the other one. Eddie is incensed at Frank's admission. He is held back by Bonnie from harming Frank. She is angry that Frank fooled her for 18 years. She vows never to forgive him and leaves with her children. Lib also leaves, and Frank persuades Philip to go with her. On their way home, Philip apologizes to his mom, but she does not hold a grudge against him. She informs him about her decision to leave Frank. She promises him that he will always remain his father. At home, Lib and Laura retire to bed, while Philip smiles at a picture frame hanging on their wall, obviously painted by Bonnie. It's 5 months later in NYU, and Kelly and Philip are neighbors. Frank and Bonnie meet in the elevator. She is annoyed to see him. She stomps out at her stop, leaving Frank standing sheepishly. Kelly is also annoyed to see Frank. She storms out of Philip's dorm to go to hers, without a single word to Frank. Philip assures him that she will come around eventually, and they hug. Frank tries to hustle for a holiday to spend with Philip, but Laura has booked all the holidays with him. He hands over the guitar from the lake house. Philip is thankful for the gift. He settles down to play it, and Frank smiles as he listens from Philip's door. Things may have gone south for the two families, but Frank and Philip's bond is stronger than ever.